Hello. Welcome to episode 0 of Better Wife, Better Life. Have you ever wondered why a lot of podcasts start with episode 0 instead of episode 1? I don't know if I even know the answer to that, but I just feel like that's kind of maybe more the norm. At any rate, this is just kind of the intro episode. So I wanted to introduce myself to you guys and kind of let you know about this podcast and what to expect. So, my name is Meredith Riddick, and I have been a therapist, a licensed professional counselor, to be more specific, in case anybody knows all the, letters after your name kind of thing, and what kind of therapist am I, that kind of thing. I've been a therapist. I finished graduate school in 2006, so I've been treating clients for quite some time. And over the course of my career thus far, it has really occurred to me more and more, no matter what the presenting issue might be that I'm working on with clients, that relationships always come into the picture. So I'm kind of more known for treating eating disorders, and that's what I've been doing a long time. And through all of that, also have specialties in anxiety and trauma. And along the way, through all that, I just ended up working with a lot of female clients. And so I've just kind of gotten to know some of the more relationship oriented concerns within those realms. And so I thought, gosh, I really need to look more into this. Couples therapy, that kind of thing isn't totally my thing. But I got trained in level 1 of Gottman method, which I'll kind of go into more in future episodes. But basically, it's this really cool, very sciencey kind of research on couples, in particular romantic relationships. And actually, I think a lot of it can be transferred into singlehood or friendships or working relationships, that kind of thing. Anyway, and so ever since then, man, I have been on fire and passionate about really incorporating a lot of relationship principles in the individual work that I do with my clients. Again, whether it's a romantic relationship or not. And then in the last few years, the last 6 years, I met the man who would become my husband. And we have been married a little over 3 years now, just barely 3 years. And so, kind of within that process, I've become a wife. And I get a lot more practice at implementing all of the principles I talk about with my own clients into my marriage. And so, and my husband is wonderful. I will get to tell you guys more about him throughout the podcast. But through all of that, he and I really practice a lot of these principles. And by no means are we perfect at it. My gosh, we'll be the first ones to tell you guys that. But we really value and respect a lot of these relationship principles so that we can have a better relationship. So, it's just been on my heart to kind of do something more in the realm of helping women, particularly in romantic relationships. So I already blog a lot about this. I talk about a lot of this with clients. I put a little bit on social media, and I am one who just loves to listen to podcasts. So I thought, well, gosh, why don't I just start a podcast? Sometimes that is so much more convenient than maybe sitting down and reading a blog or something like that. And so I wanted to give this a shot. And I don't know if it's going to be, 10 episodes or 100 episodes, or if this is just going to be ongoing. But I have the plan for the first few episodes anyway, and I hope that it's something that really helps you guys. As I was looking at what to name this podcast, I didn't want it to be super limiting, but I also wanted to kind of narrow down. So I've named it Better Wife, Better Life, just something a little bit catchy. It makes for a good website, that kind of thing. But I do want to be really clear, even though I'm going to gear this toward women, there's a lot in this podcast that men can absolutely take away from as well. So if you are a male listener, welcome. So glad you are here also. And also, this is for anyone who is single, who is dating, who is married, who's in a long-term committed relationship. So even if you're not exactly a wife, you are also welcome to listen. And I think that you'll get a lot from this too. So I've told you guys a little bit about my background as a therapist. I've told you guys I met my husband in 2013. We got married in 2016, and here we are. What I haven't necessarily told you that I don't always get to tell everybody, because this is what's nice kind of about this platform, is that there's, kind of this one-sided kind of thing to it, whereas in my counseling work with clients it's two-sided, and I have to be really careful about self-disclosure. So one thing that I don't always share with a lot of people and with my clients that I have permission to share with you guys, my listeners, is my husband and I actually broke up for a year in our dating relationship, and then we got back together and we got married a couple years after that. And then we kind of started off the last part of our engagement and the first part of our marriage kind of in more of a rough patch. And I won't go into a whole lot of detail there, but what I will tell you guys is that we really buckled down and used a lot of Gottman based principles. We used the 5 love languages, and we kind of pushed ourselves to work through this conflict that we were having. And I will tell you, the last, 2.5 years or so of our marriage, it has been so different and so wonderful. And I want to share some of what we do with you guys as well, with my husband's permission. So we do have that. And so I'll kind of be weaving in maybe some stories about us throughout the podcast. And again, hopefully you guys benefit from it. If it's just kind of boring, feel free to just tune me out or fast forward. I am not offended in the least. Okay. So, one thing I've noticed in my work with clients, again, I treat a lot of female clients. That's by far more of who I've treated over the years. And there are so many women who are single or married, their wives, their moms, their girlfriends, and they are not getting their needs met. They've built up some resentment. They're getting burned out. They might be getting taken advantage of unknowingly. Maybe they're taken for granted unknowingly. And, sometimes in sessions, my client will say, "Oh man, you must think so badly of my partner or my husband or my girlfriend. And I don't want you to think that they're a great person." And I'm always like, "Oh, of course, we need a space to be able to talk about what the problems are and what's going on." But at the end of the day, as a therapist, I only hear one side of the story. Okay. So we have to take that with a grain of salt. But one of the things I notice is, yeah, none of us are perfect. And so we all have room for growth and all of that. But the vast majority of what my clients talk about in our sessions, I think, is fixable. These are problems that happen in relationships where there is room to grow. There are solutions for things to get better. And I'm a big believer in the hope that that can happen. So I want to give you guys some really practical tips to use to take home to your partner, to your other relationships in life, and just to kind of have space to work on some of these things so that you can have hope for those relationships as well. So I've already mentioned Gottman. A little background there: Doctors John and Julie Gottman are very well-known marriage researchers, Dr. John Gottman in particular, and then Dr. Julie Gottman has done quite a bit of the clinical work in implementing their research into relationships, and thus we have Gottman method. So a lot of my podcast is going to be talking about what research maybe says. It's going to be talking about some of what I share with my clients that has helped them. And I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about clients just to protect confidentiality and, of course, all of that. But just kind of some basic things that I've seen work, that I've read articles. We have really good literature that talks about what is working and what is not working. So you're going to hear me talk a lot about Gottman because probably as of now, it's some of the strongest research that we have when it comes to romantic relationships in particular. I'm also going to pull from other components. You may have heard of emotion-focused therapy and that work with couples. You may have heard of family systems, that kind of thing. So I'm going to pull from some other theories that are also really good. So research is going to be a little part of this podcast as well. I also always want you guys to have kind of a solution, a take home message. And my one for today, and I'll probably do a future podcast that's going to go into more detail about this, is that change begins with you. And that's one thing I've experienced as a wife. That's one thing I've experienced as a therapist with my clients is that so often we just feel like if only the other person would change, this would be so much better. If only he or she wouldn't have done that, then I wouldn't have responded this way. And let me just say this as a sister, as a woman, as a therapist, I get it. I have been there. I completely understand what that feels like. And change is not really going to happen, or it's going to happen very, very slowly if you just end up waiting for the other person to change. So my one kind of takeaway for you guys today is just to be thinking about if change begins with you, what do you think that looks like? Where do you think you might start? What's maybe the one area of growth that you already know about, or maybe a few people throughout your life have kind of given you some feedback that's hard to hear? And let's just start there and explore that. So I want you guys to keep listening. And if you are so inclined, you can check out our website. We are at harmonytherapygroup.com/better wife, better life. We've got some information on that page. We're going to put show notes on that page. We've got a YouTube channel. I think I'm going to put some of the video parts of these podcasts. So hello, if you're watching on YouTube. And we got a lot of social media stuff too. So harmonytherapygroup.com/better wife, better life. And I'll look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Bye.